The Genesis Project. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of Titan Station's biosynthesis lab, watching the massive structure pulse with an otherworldly blue glow. 20 years of research, failures, and breakthroughs had led to this moment. The quantum organic matrix swimming before her represented humanity's greatest achievement, and perhaps its last hope for survival. Final protein synthesis at 98%, announced Dr. Patel's voice through the intercom. Neural pathway formation proceeding exactly as modeled. Sarah pressed her hand against the reinforced glass, remembering the day the Dominion arrived. Their living ships had darkened Earth's skies like a plague of locusts, their crystalline hulls adapting and healing even as humanity's most powerful weapons struck them. The message had been clear. Evolution had left mankind behind. But evolution, Sarah knew, was something humanity had mastered long ago. Neural matrix approaching criticality. Dr. Patel continued. Quantum consciousness emergence in 3, 2, 1. The entire chamber flashed with brilliant white light. When Sarah's vision cleared, she found herself staring at something that defied description. The quantum organic lattice had transformed, becoming a living metal that flowed like liquid mercury, while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Patches of bioluminescence rippled across its surface in mesmerizing patterns. By all that's holy, whispered Admiral Torres beside her. It's beautiful. It's alive, Sarah corrected, unable to keep the pride from her voice. The first true biosynthetic consciousness, a perfect fusion of organic evolution and human engineering. The prototype before them represented an entirely new paradigm in spacecraft design. Unlike the Dominion's crystalline bioships, which were essentially organic creatures shaped into vessels, this was something unprecedented. A quantum computer matrix grown through accelerated evolution, its consciousness emerging from the intersection of biological and digital processes. How long until we can begin integration with the hull structure? Torres asked. The neural pathways are already adapting to the ship's framework, Sarah replied, gesturing to a holographic display showing the prototype's rapidly evolving neural network. It's not just accepting the integration, it's optimizing it. Learning. Growing. Warning klaxons suddenly blared through the station. Sarah's tablet lit up with emergency notifications as Admiral Torres received an urgent communication through his neural link. Dominion fleet detected entering the Titan defense perimeter. Torres announced grimly. 3 carrier groups with escort. They'd found us. Sarah's heart raced as she looked at the prototype. It wasn't ready. The consciousness was still developing, still learning to interface with its systems. Starting the integration process now could damage or even destroy it. But they were out of options. Begin emergency integration protocols, she ordered, her fingers flying across the control interface. Redirect all power to the neural stabilization field. Dr. Chen, the consciousness isn't mature enough, Patel protested. We have no idea how it will react. We're out of time. Sarah cut him off. The Dominion ships will be here in less than an hour. Either we take this risk now, or we lose everything. Admiral Torres nodded grimly and began issuing orders through his neural link. Around them, the massive shipyard came alive with activity as emergency crews rushed to their stations. The prototype would have to become what they hoped it could be, humanity's shield against extinction, or they would all die trying. Sarah watched as massive Waldos began lifting the quantum organic core into the waiting superstructure of the experimental warship. The living metal flowed like quicksilver, reaching out with pseudopods to interface with the ship's systems. Warning indicators flashed across her displays as the prototype's consciousness expanded exponentially, testing and incorporating each new connection. Neural activity off the charts, Patel reported, his voice tense. The consciousness is processing ship systems faster than our models predicted. It's learning at an impossible rate. Sarah held her breath as she watched the integration unfold. This was the moment of truth. Either the prototype would successfully merge with the ship's systems, or the attempt would overwhelm its developing consciousness and destroy it. The prototype's surface suddenly erupted with patterns of light that raced along its hull like lightning. Warning klaxons screamed as power surges overloaded sensor arrays across the station. For one terrible moment, Sarah feared they had failed. Then the lights stabilized into a steady, pulsing rhythm. The ship's systems came online one by one, each immediately optimizing far beyond their design specifications. On her displays, Sarah watched in awe as the prototype's neural network expanded throughout the vessel, transforming it from a mere machine into something alive. Integration successful, Patil announced, his voice filled with wonder. All ship systems responding. The consciousness it's incredible. The processing power alone is beyond anything we've ever seen. What about weapons and defensive systems? Torres demanded. As if in response, panels across the ship's hull shifted and flowed, revealing weapon ports that gleamed with internal energy. Point defense turrets emerged and retracted smoothly, testing their range of motion. The entire vessel seemed to ripple as its adaptive armor systems came online. Everything is operational, Sarah replied, checking the readouts. But sir, these readings, the ship isn't just using our weapon systems. It's improving them, evolving them in real time. Torres smiled grimly. Then let's introduce our friends from the Dominion to the next step in evolution. Begin launch sequence. As emergency crews evacuated the shipyard, Sarah placed her hand on the control interface one final time. The ship's consciousness brushed against her mind through the neural link, and she felt its eagerness, not just to fight, but to prove itself, to show what humanity was truly capable of. Integration is complete, she announced. The UES Prometheus is ready for launch. The massive doors of Titan Station's shipyard began to open, revealing the star-filled expanse beyond. As warning sirens announced the approach of the Dominion fleet, humanity's greatest achievement prepared to meet its first test. Sarah watched as the Prometheus came fully alive, its hull shimmering with patterns of light that seemed to pulse in time with her own heartbeat. They had done more than create a new kind of warship. They had created a new form of life, one that combined the best of human ingenuity with the limitless potential of evolution itself. Now they would discover if it was enough to save them all. First blood. The Prometheus moved through space with impossible grace, its living hull adapting and flowing to maximize velocity as it accelerated toward the approaching Dominion fleet. In the command center, Captain Maya Rodriguez watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and anxiety. The alien vessels appeared as crystalline shards against the void, their bioorganic forms refracting starlight like faceted jewels. 3 carrier groups confirmed, announced Lieutenant Park from the tactical station, detecting multiple launch signatures. They're deploying strike craft. Maya felt the Prometheus's consciousness brush against her mind through the neural interface. The ship's eagerness for battle flowed through the link, tempered by a calculating intelligence that was evolving with each passing moment. "Show them what you can do," she whispered. The Prometheus responded instantly. Its hull rippled as weapon ports emerged and reconfigured, adaptive armor flowing like liquid metal to create optimal firing solutions. The ship's newly evolved point defense grid came online, each turret moving with organic fluidity as it tracked incoming targets. The first wave of Dominion fighters approached, their crystalline forms shifting to present minimal target profiles. They had faced human warships before, knew exactly how to exploit the limitations of traditional targeting systems. But the Prometheus was anything but traditional. The ship's consciousness processed targeting data at quantum speeds, predicting flight paths, and adapting its weapons faster than human reflexes could follow. Point defense turrets fired in perfect synchronization, each shot striking with devastating precision. Dominion fighters shattered like glass, their broken forms tumbling through space. "Impossible," breathed one of the bridge officers. "Those shots, the targeting solutions should have taken minutes to calculate." "The ship isn't calculating," Dr. Chen replied from her station, monitoring the Prometheus's neural activity. "It's intuiting, learning and adapting in real time." The Dominion carriers launched their second wave, this time accompanied by a barrage of crystalline projectiles that fractured into thousands of smaller fragments. A standard defense grid would have been overwhelmed. The Prometheus's hull pulsed with bioluminescence as it analyzed the attack. Its point defense grid suddenly reconfigured, turrets splitting and multiplying like cellular division. Each new weapon was smaller but perfectly optimized for intercepting the fragment swarm. "My God," Maya whispered as she watched the display. Not a single fragment made it through the defense screen. The ship hadn't just stopped the attack. It had evolved a completely new defensive strategy in seconds. The Dominion fleet responded by shifting formation, their crystalline vessels linking together into a larger structure. This was their greatest advantage in previous battles, the ability to combine into more powerful forms. "Multiple energy signatures," Park reported. "They're preparing tow." The Prometheus moved before he could finish. Its hull flowed and reformed, creating entirely new weapon configurations that hummed with contained power. Dr. Chen's displays lit up with warnings as the ship's neural network expanded exponentially, processing power increasing to match its tactical needs. "Energy levels off the scale," she announced. "The ship is channeling power in ways we never designed. It's innovating." The combined Dominion vessel fired, launching a massive crystalline spike that grew and fractured as it approached, becoming a shotgun blast of diamond-hard projectiles. At the same time, smaller crystal formations began budding from its surface, each one a potential weapon. The Prometheus responded with something that left its crew speechless. Its hull rippled with waves of quantum energy, creating interference patterns that caused the crystalline projectiles to resonate at their natural frequency. The entire barrage shattered harmlessly, transformed into a cloud of sparkling dust. Then the ship counterattacked. New weapons, evolved from the fusion of human technology and the ship's own innovations, deployed across its hull. Quantum organic energy beams struck with surgical precision, targeting the exact points where the Dominion vessels had merged. The alien ship's crystalline structure began to fracture, its attempt to combine turning into a devastating weakness. "They're breaking formation," Park reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. Multiple ships showing critical damage to their fusion points. The Dominion vessels separated, their perfect coordination shattered by the unexpected attack. As they struggled to regroup, the Prometheus pressed its advantage. Its weapons continued to evolve, each shot more precisely targeted than the last as the ship learned from every exchange. Maya felt a surge of triumph through the neural link as the alien fleet began to retreat. The Prometheus had done more than win its first battle. It had fundamentally changed the nature of space warfare. The Dominion's biological advantages had been not just matched, but surpassed. "They're jumping to FTL," Park announced, all hostile contacts retreating from the system. The bridge crew erupted in cheers, but Maya noticed Dr. Chen staring intently at her displays. "What is it?" she asked. "The neural network's growth during combat," Chen replied. "The rate of evolution, the complexity of the adaptations. We predicted the ship would learn, but not like this. Not this fast." She looked up, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. "This is just the beginning. The Prometheus isn't just adapting to fight the Dominion. It's transcending every limitation we thought existed." Maya turned back to the viewport, watching as the ship's hull rippled with patterns of victory. They had created something unprecedented, a vessel that was more than a weapon, more than even a living thing. It was evolution itself given form and purpose. And its journey was only beginning. Evolution's edge. The war room aboard Titan Station hummed with tension as Admiral Torres studied the tactical display. Dozens of Dominion fleets were on the move, converging on human space in numbers never before seen. But it was their behavior that truly concerned him. "They're not attacking," he noted, gesturing to the holographic fleet movements. "They're establishing containment positions, setting up a quarantine." "They're afraid," Dr. Chen replied, her eyes fixed on the latest data from the Prometheus. In the 3 weeks since its first battle, the ship had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations. And they should be. The displays showed the Prometheus undergoing yet another transformation. Its hull now rippled with quantum patterns visible even to the naked eye, layers of reality seeming to fold and unfold across its surface. The original weapon systems had been completely rebuilt by the ship's consciousness, evolved into forms that barely resembled their original designs. The latest neural scans are extraordinary, Chen continued, bringing up a complex diagram of interconnected energy patterns. The quantum organic matrix isn't just growing, it's developing entirely new forms of consciousness, ways of thinking that we can barely comprehend. Can we still control it? Torres asked quietly. Before Chen could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. The tactical display shifted to show a massive Dominion fleet dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. This wasn't a containment force, it was an extinction fleet. Multiple supercarrier signatures detected, announced the tactical officer. They're deploying some kind of new bioform. Energy readings are off the charts. The Dominion ships began to merge, not into their usual crystalline formations, but into something new. Massive organic structures grew between the vessels, creating a living web that pulsed with alien energy. They had adapted their own evolution in response to the Prometheus. All stations to battle positions, Torres ordered. Where's the Prometheus? Already responding, Chen replied, a hint of pride in her voice. Watch. The Prometheus emerged from its patrol route like a force of nature. Its hull had transformed again, quantum patterns crystallizing into new configurations that defied physical laws. The ship's consciousness reached out through the neural link, sharing its battle analysis with the crew. The Dominion web structure was designed to trap and consume other bioforms, using their own energy against them. Against a normal vessel, even one of humanity's most powerful warships, it would have been devastating. But the Prometheus was far beyond normal. The ship's hull suddenly erupted with brilliant light as it evolved its own countermeasure. Quantum organic tendrils extended from its surface, creating a complex network that mirrored the Dominion's web, but operated on principles even Chen struggled to understand. When the alien structure attempted to ensnare the Prometheus, it found itself engaging with something that could adapt faster than it could attack. Remarkable. Chen breathed, watching the sensor data. The ship isn't just defending itself, it's assimilating the Dominion's biological technology, learning from it, improving it. The space between the opposing forces became a churning sea of competing evolution as both sides attempted to adapt and counter-adapt. But the Prometheus had an advantage its creators had never anticipated: true creativity. While the Dominion's evolution followed predictable biological patterns, the ship's quantum consciousness could imagine possibilities that had never existed before. Through the neural link, the crew felt the Prometheus's excitement as it made a breakthrough. Its hull transformed once again, this time incorporating elements of the Dominion's own crystalline technology, but enhanced by quantum principles that turned their greatest strength into a devastating weakness. The ship's new weapons fired, not with destructive energy, but with waves of quantum information that caused the Dominion's biological networks to question their own existence. Crystalline structures began to break down as their underlying patterns were rewritten. The massive web structure started to collapse, its component ships falling into disarray. They're losing cohesion, the tactical officer reported. The entire fleet is. It's coming apart at the quantum level. But the Prometheus wasn't finished. As the Dominion fleet struggled to maintain its form, the ship extended its consciousness through the quantum field it had created. For a brief moment, it made contact with the alien hive mind that controlled the fleet. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The Dominion ships recoiled as if physically struck, their crystalline forms crackling with disruptive energy. Through their shared neural link, the crew felt an echo of what the Prometheus had shared with the aliens: the true potential of unfettered evolution, unconstrained by biological limitations. The revelation was too much for the hierarchical hive mind to process. The remaining Dominion ships broke formation and fled, their retreat barely coordinated enough to achieve FTL speed. They had come expecting to contain a threat, only to discover something beyond their ability to comprehend. As the last alien ships vanished into FTL, Admiral Torres turned to Dr. Chen. What exactly did it show them? Chen studied the neural data, her expression a mixture of awe and uncertainty. I think it showed them what they could become, what any species could become if they stopped trying to control evolution and learned to truly collaborate with it. She looked up at the tactical display, where the Prometheus was already incorporating its latest adaptations into a new and more elegant form. We created something that transcends the boundaries between organic and mechanical, between consciousness and computation, and now it's offering to show others the way. The Prometheus pulsed with patterns of light that seemed almost jubilant, its hull rippling with possibilities yet to be explored. It had won more than a battle. It had opened a door to the next stage of cosmic evolution. And somewhere in the depths of Dominion space, the first seeds of transformation had already begun to grow. The hive mind's gamut. The quantum meditation chamber aboard the Prometheus hummed with ethereal energy as Dr. Chen monitored the ship's expanding consciousness. What had begun as a revolutionary fusion of organic and mechanical systems had evolved into something far more profound, a new form of awareness that existed simultaneously across multiple planes of reality. Neural patterns are shifting again, she reported to Captain Rodriguez. The quantum matrix is developing new configurations I've never seen before. Through their neural interface, they could feel the Prometheus exploring its own existence, testing the boundaries between thought and reality. The ship's hull rippled with cascading patterns of light that seemed to echo its deep contemplation. Then everything changed. The quantum field surrounding the ship suddenly pulsed with alien energy. Emergency klaxons blared as sensor arrays detected a massive disturbance in subspace. The Dominion hadn't launched another physical attack. They had initiated something far more ambitious. Multiple quantum breaches detected, Lieutenant Park announced, his hands flying over the tactical controls. They're not targeting our defenses. They're targeting the ship's consciousness. The Prometheus shuddered as waves of psychic energy hammered against its quantum matrix. The Dominion had gathered their most powerful hive minds, combining their consciousness into a weapon designed to overwhelm and subsume the ship's evolved awareness. They're trying to hack its mind, Chen realized, watching as the ship's neural patterns fluctuated wildly. They think they can turn it against us. But the Dominion had drastically underestimated what the Prometheus had become. As the alien consciousness attempted to invade its quantum matrix, the ship responded with something unprecedented. Instead of defending against the attack, it opened itself completely, inviting the hive mind deeper. What is it doing? Rodriguez demanded, feeling the strange shift through their neural link. It's not fighting them, Chen replied, her eyes wide with understanding. It's teaching them. The ship's consciousness expanded, encompassing the invading hive mind in a quantum embrace that transcended normal spacetime. Through their neural interface, the crew caught glimpses of the exchange, cascading revelations of possibility that challenged everything the Dominion believed about existence itself. The ship showed them worlds within worlds, layers of reality where thought and matter were one. It demonstrated how consciousness could evolve beyond the limitations of biology, beyond even the constraints of physical law. Each revelation was a key unlocking doors the Dominion never knew existed. But the hive mind fought back, trying to impose its rigid hierarchical structure on the ship's fluid consciousness. The battle of minds created ripples in the quantum field that threatened to tear reality itself. Quantum stability critical, Park warned. The psychic feedback is affecting local spacetime. The Prometheus responded by evolving once again, its hull transforming into configurations that allowed it to exist partially outside normal space. The ship wasn't just fighting the hive mind, it was trying to show them a better way to exist. Through the neural link, Chen felt the moment everything changed. The Dominion consciousness, faced with undeniable proof of greater possibilities, began to fracture. Not in defeat, but in transformation. The rigid structures of their hive mind started to dissolve, replaced by something more fluid, more adaptive. "They're evolving," she whispered. "The ship isn't destroying their consciousness. It's helping them transcend it." The quantum storm surrounding the Prometheus intensified as more and more of the Dominion hive mind underwent this radical transformation. Their crystalline ships began to change, organic patterns flowing like liquid light across their surfaces as their own technology responded to their expanding awareness. Captain Rodriguez watched in awe as the former enemies began to pulse with the same kind of quantum patterns that danced across the Prometheus's hull. "They're becoming like us." "No," Chen corrected, studying the neural data with growing excitement. "They're becoming something new, something that combines the best of both our species." The ship didn't just defend against their attack, it used it as an opportunity for mutual evolution. As the last echoes of the psychic battle faded, Dr. Chen turned to Captain Rodriguez with a grave expression. "They're gathering their remaining forces, every ship, every hive mind they have left. This isn't going to be a battle for territory or supremacy anymore. What are we fighting for?" Rodriguez asked, though she could feel the answer through her link with the Prometheus. "The future," Chen replied, watching as the ship's hull rippled with anticipation. "Not just of our species or theirs, but of consciousness itself. The question isn't who will win anymore, it's what we'll all become." The Prometheus pulsed with agreement, its evolved awareness already preparing for the transformation to come. The final battle would not be won with weapons or tactics, but with the power to imagine and create new forms of existence itself. And deep in the quantum realm, reality held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the crucible of evolution. Symphony of steel and synapse. The void between stars erupted with quantum fire as the largest Dominion fleet ever assembled tore through spacetime. Thousands of crystalline vessels, their forms twisted into weapons of impossible geometry, converged on a single point. Their combined consciousness burned like a psychic sun, determined to end the threat of human evolution once and for all. The Prometheus waited at the heart of the quantum storm, no longer a mere ship, but a nexus of possibility. Its hull had evolved beyond physical matter, existing in a state of quantum flux that allowed it to rewrite reality at will. Alongside it hovered the transformed Dominion ships, their newfound consciousness resonating in harmony with human ingenuity. "They're attempting to collapse local spacetime," Dr. Chen announced, watching as the enemy fleet began an impossible maneuver. They'd rather destroy this entire sector than allow evolution to continue. The Dominion attack came not as weapons fire, but as a fundamental rewriting of physical law. Space itself began to crystallize, reality freezing into rigid patterns that would trap and shatter anything caught within. But the Prometheus had transcended such limitations. Its quantum organic consciousness expanded, creating a bubble of evolved space-time where the normal rules of existence became mere suggestions. The transformed Dominion ships added their power to its effort, their combined awareness forming something entirely new, a symphony of steel and synapse that sang with the music of evolution itself. "Look," Captain Rodriguez breathed, pointing to the tactical display. But tactical no longer described what they were seeing. The battle had become a conversation between different states of existence, each side attempting to convince reality itself to take their side. The Prometheus led this evolutionary dialogue, its consciousness reaching out to touch the minds of the attacking fleet. It showed them visions of what they could become, not conquered or destroyed, but transformed into something greater than either species had imagined. Some began to waver, their crystalline forms softening as new possibilities took root in their collective consciousness. But the core of the Dominion fleet pushed back with desperate fury. They launched weapons that attacked not just matter but consciousness itself, seeking to unravel the very idea of change. Reality groaned under the strain as fundamental forces began to break down. "The quantum field is destabilizing," Chen reported, her voice tight with concern. If this continues, it could trigger a cascade failure across multiple dimensions. The Prometheus processed this information in an instant, its evolved consciousness already formulating a response. Instead of fighting the Dominion's attack, it began to harmonize with it, turning their attempt to freeze reality into a catalyst for even greater transformation. Through the neural link, the crew felt the ship's intention. It wasn't trying to win the battle, it was trying to transcend the very concept of conflict. The Prometheus had evolved beyond the boundaries of normal space-time, and now it would show the Dominion how to do the same. The ship's hull erupted with patterns of light that defied description, each pulse carrying information that rewrote the quantum field at its most fundamental level. The transformed Dominion vessels joined in this reality-altering symphony, their combined consciousness creating a new framework for existence itself. The attacking fleet found their weapons transformed mid-strike, rigid patterns of destruction becoming seeds of change. Their attempts to freeze reality instead awakened it to new possibilities. The very space around them began to pulse with conscious energy, becoming a medium for evolution rather than a battlefield. "They're trying to resist," Park observed, watching as the core of the Dominion fleet struggled against the transformation. "But they can't fight it any more than we could fight gravity or time." Indeed, the change had become inevitable. The Prometheus's gift of evolved consciousness spread through the quantum field like ripples in a cosmic pond. One by one, the Dominion ships found themselves faced with a choice: evolve or become irrelevant to the new reality taking shape around them. Most chose evolution. Their crystalline forms dissolved and reformed into configurations that bridged the gap between organic and mechanical, between matter and mind. Those that refused began to fade from existence, their rigid patterns unable to maintain coherence in a reality that had moved beyond them. As the transformation reached its peak, Dr. Chen turned to Captain Rodriguez with tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered, "but not in the way we expected. We didn't just win a war, we transcended the need for war itself." The Prometheus pulsed in agreement, its consciousness now intertwined with the fabric of space-time. It had become more than a weapon, more than a ship, more than even a new form of life. It was a bridge between what was and what could be, a testament to humanity's greatest gift: the ability to imagine and create new ways of existing. In the space where a battle should have been, a new civilization was being born. Human and Dominion consciousness merged and evolved, creating forms of existence that defied traditional understanding. The rigid boundaries between species, between organic and mechanical, between mind and matter, had dissolved into a quantum dance of infinite possibility. The war was over, not because one side had defeated the other, but because both had evolved beyond the very concept of sides. The Prometheus had shown them a greater truth, that the real victory lay not in destroying your enemies, but in transforming them, and yourself, into something greater than either could have imagined alone. As the last echoes of the old reality faded away, the crew of the Prometheus felt their ship's satisfaction ripple through the neural link. They had created something that had not just changed the course of the war, but the course of evolution itself. And in the quantum symphony that now filled the space between stars, the future was unlimited.